Hello and welcome to a very exciting edition of the Immigrant Magazine Weekly. I'm Pamela Anchang. Daphna Edwards Ziman's work as a philanthropist is well known internationally and in the halls of power in Washington, D.C. Launching an initiative to eradicate human trafficking and violence against women, the inspiring President of Cine and a team of industry professionals is bringing together star power to an upcoming women's empowerment event in Africa. In attendance will be over 17 First Ladies from African countries and the United States, including former First Lady Michelle Obama, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, political figures like Vice President Kamala Harris, media personalities, and A-list Hollywood celebrities like Akon, Chaka Khan, Rosario Dawson, Jamie Foxx, Tiffany Haddish, Angelina Jolie, world-renowned African artists like Fally Ipupa, Kofi Olomide, and lots of influencers. I am honored to welcome Daphna to our show to tell us more about her initiative and how we can contribute. Before I bring Daphna to the show, please do me the honors, if this is your first time visiting our channel, by subscribing by clicking on the subscribe button here below, and of course hitting the notification bell so that you will be notified when this content is released. Of course, like us so that YouTube will share our videos. And also do me the honors of following me on Twitter and Instagram at Pam Anchang and Facebook at The Immigrant Magazine. Let's welcome Daphna to the show. So I want to welcome Daphna to the show. Daphna, thank you so much for coming to our show today. How are you doing today?
I'm amazing. Yeah, because I'm talking to you.
And I feel so honored because you know what? I love to see women doing amazing things. But first of all, before we get to it, you are also an immigrant, aren't you?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your journey.
Oh, this is an incredible question at this moment because my father's family is from Ukraine.
Oh.
And actually, my cousin is actually involved with the parliament of Ukraine, and he's there fighting. So the plight of the immigrants is literally global. We are looking right now at what does it mean to be an immigrant. Can you ever forget your roots? No. Can African Americans can ever forget their roots? No. But we sit there pretty and we think that we are born yesterday and that we don't have an obligation to our roots and to the mother continent or the mother country that gave birth to our DNA.
Absolutely.
So we really don't understand what it means to have commitment.
So let me ask you, Daphna, 1 second, real quick. So where's your direct lineage from?
Wait, sorry. I had my phone on, I'm so sorry.
Okay, now you turned it off, thank you.
Yeah, I turned it off.
You have, and by the way, let's send our prayers to the Ukrainians. And because this is just atrocious, and what's just killing me is that the world seems to be watching. I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll have to talk about that. But let's.
Which I really want to talk about because it's an obligation for all women to come together to the home because men cause wars.
Yes.
And we are the nesters. We are the global nesters, and we need to come forward on behalf of Ukraine and demand the end of disseminating humanity, especially grandmothers and babies.
It's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah. It's a shame. So let's talk about what you are doing, because I always say this, immigrants get the job done. It's amazing. Immigrants build this country, and look at you. When I started the magazine as an immigrant woman, people questioned me, why are you not doing a magazine about Africa? And I said, why should I? Why should you put me in a hole? We are speaking for humanity, and humanity knows no race, no creed, nothing of the sort. And here you are, doing something on the continent of Africa. I want you to tell us right off the bat about this initiative for justice for women and why this is so important.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned Africa because people ask me all the time, why is it that you're insisting on doing the launch in Africa? And it's a very good question, because why? And the reality behind it is, for years and years and years, every year, I've been doing this congressional conference on sex trafficking and children at risk in the congressional auditorium in the Capitol. And for years and years and years, we've been educating the different White House administrations, the congressional bodies, the legislative bodies, everybody, on what it means to be a witness to a global modern day slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to mince words. This is not just sex trafficking. This is modern day slavery on the back predominantly of colored girls. And when you think about that and you think of the mother continent, you have to recognize that we have to go into the core so that the message comes from where the biggest suffering is. 47% of all trafficking is emerging from Africa. And if we don't go to the core and we go and have a press conference in Hollywood, what does it mean? It means that we don't go where it is. You have to have feet on the ground to really experience what it's doing to humanity. When I went to Africa and I was in Kinshasa, and I went into a place where 98% of the girls from age 10 on are completely thrown into the midst of sex trafficking by Hezbollah. I recognize what it's doing. Why are these girls doing it? They're getting $5 for every trick. $4 goes to Hezbollah. They get $1. Now, reality is that a cup of rice costs 50 cents, and they're doing it to feed their families. So we as humanity can make all the excuses of that sex trafficking, it's this, it's that. But the truth is, it's right here on the ground of humanity with the country and the continent that needs the most help. And once again, we around the world are watching and doing nothing. We talk, we pass legislations, but we don't execute. So I figured out that the only way we're going to be able to execute is put it into the hands of women, because it's predominantly women and young girls that are being trafficked. And we women cannot tolerate that, because we are the mothers, we are the grandmothers, we are the sisters, we are the daughters. We understand that the demand is men. So how can we not put it in the hands of women and in the hands of the mother continent?
I like that. Thank you for acknowledging the mother continent. And not because I'm from Africa, but it's just the truth. But you just said it, put in the hands of women, because if you look at, we talked about the war in Ukraine, it's men, it's men, it's men, it's men. It's time for women to stand up. But so now your initiative, and it's not just you, who's the team that put together this initiative? Because
that's a very good question,
yeah.
Pamela, because in order for me to take it out of Washington and really start a groundswell, I needed to figure out, how do we do it? And when it occurred to me that the only way was to put it in the hands of women, I thought, okay, so what women? And immediately I thought, the first ladies. The first ladies of each country are going to take this into their palms, and they will understand how to eradicate sex trafficking. So when I thought of it, immediately, my people, which is Prince Mwamba from, his grandfather was the king of the Democratic Republic of Congo. He and his wife, Deborah, immediately jumped, and they put together Women United Foundation. They brought all the first ladies of Africa, who were the first ones at the helm, which shows you It shows you the spirit of African women. And I recognize that that spirit can inspire the world. And so we partnered up with the Women United Foundation. I was then the founder of Children Uniting Nations, which is a perfect fit. And we started Justice for Women because we felt that it's a global responsibility to look at this initiative as justice for women, to stop the violence, to stop the silence on violence against women. And then we launched this movie. We premiered it with Apple on Cinema. And that movie was called Woman. And it took 5 years to make. And there was not one celebrity in it. There were real women who've had to keep silent about the violence against them. And each woman spoke for the first time about what trafficking did to her. One of the women is Norma. And Norma, for instance, is an unbelievable woman. She's Mexican. And when she was 10 years old, her grandfather, because she was living with her grandfather violated her. No one believed her. She couldn't even call the police. Finally, the police believed her, and she left her grandfather's house already tortured, already raped. She went into the world believing that she can make a life without abuse. And what happens? She met people that told her, because she's so beautiful, that she can be a model. She was a young teenager. They took her to Japan, told her big things that she can do globally from there. She went there, and the Yakuza took her passport and sent her to be trafficked with big rich men because she was so beautiful. And the one person that is now dead because what he's done on his island. And he, Epstein, was the one that sold her to billionaires. She went back to Japan and she tried to escape. The Yakuza caught her, absolutely tortured her. They thought she was dead and she crawled out, and somebody picked her up and took her to the emergency room. She was in a hospital for 6 months. And as soon as she got her strength back, she started running to let that angst out of her. And today she's a champion triathlete.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Listen, there are so many, it's funny, there's so many stories like this. I'm just so happy that you have taken the mantle and you're bringing all these women to the table. This is just amazing. And so you also have former first ladies like Michelle Obama, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. What are you hoping that their contribution would be to such an initiative?
Well, Laura Bush, for instance, is one of the women that's most respected in Africa. Michelle Obama is most respected in Africa. Now, Hillary Clinton's my friend, and since she was a young person, right after college, right after university, her first action was children at risk. She, as a lawyer, she's the one that brought HIPPY, home instruction for preschool youngsters, from Israel. Her whole life has been about it. So when you talk about great women, Condoleezza Rice too, when you talk about great women, their focus is beyond themselves. And as women and mothers, the first focus is on children. So who better to be spokespeople to the world about why this must land in the hands of women?
But let me ask you something, Daphna. Women are at the helm of this and they're doing the work, but the perpetrators of this, is it just men or men conniving with women? And how are we going to change that trajectory?
That's also a very astute question. So you think, and I've talked to many, girls who've had to turn to prostitution, and there's always a key woman that the traffickers hold as the seductress, to bring the girls in to make them feel more comfortable. But those women are held against their will too. And they are abused too. So many of them have been raped, and they always hold the threat of hurting or mutilating or killing their families as the threat that causes these women to be a pawn.
Okay.
And that's what they are. I don't know that too many women would find pride in seducing young girls into this situation, knowing the torture and the rape and the mutilation that they will experience. I mean, maybe there are some, but those that do it for money are usually sociopaths.
Okay.
But women at our core, we are not able to do that. You know, you can look at, I visit women in prison all the time because most of them were foster kids. 78.8% of all inmates in penitentiary come from the child welfare system. So because our system is so broken, I feel an obligation to visit these women, young girls in juvenile hall and prisons. And you think that these women, because they're supposedly criminals, that they're sociopaths, but very, very few are really sociopaths.
Yeah.
Mostly it's women that have a desire to be better, to
Right.
do better. And most of those women, even the criminals, even the robbers, the whatever, behind them, there was a man they were in love with that they didn't want to lose, that they did everything for. I mean, I know that there's a book actually called Good Girls Gone Bad. And when you hear the stories, you always see that these women have allowed themselves to be vulnerable to the will of men. So in men, it's not like you don't have goodness in men, but every scientist will tell you that men think about sex every 16 seconds. It controls them. The truth is that we as mothers have to recognize that we have to bring up our boys in a different way. We have to recognize that they do things because they are creators. They're creators of humanity. So they have to think about sex all the time. But we need to teach them what is something that's honorable, what is respect, how do you deal with a woman with dignity and respect? And we have to help bring up boys into men that respect themselves first. How can you respect yourself if you violate a woman? That's like violating your own mother.
Exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up because that was actually my next question. Like, you know, when we are the ones raising these boys that become men, you know, and then they turn around and do this, some of them turn around and do these atrocious things. Now let's talk about the event that's coming up in Africa. It's a 3-day event and you have star power. I mean, you have Anchang, Daphne, Angelina Jolie. I mean, I read the press release. It is just going to be an amazing event. What do you hope
Angelina
that
Jolie is actually being appointed to head the entire focus of the UN on trafficking. So she's already committed
Fantastic.
to do something. And I've known her from the beginning. We met before she did her first show at HBO. And, you know, she's a very shy person. I remember her being very shy.
Really?
Yeah. And the thing, she's gotten all this weird publicity, but look at what she's really done. She's adopted children from all to show that racial diversity is possible.
She's a global mother. She's a global mother.
A global mother. And
Yes.
to me, that symbol alone is crucial because her alone and what she's done in her own life is what I want to see as the message.
Okay, I see. Because I was wondering, it's like, what was the criteria for picking each of these people? But I realized they bring entertainment, they bring something. So I was wondering, like, what is going to be their contribution? We know.
No. You are actually wrong about that. Each one has been chosen for a reason.
Okay.
Shaka Khan, for instance. Shaka Khan has dedicated her life to disabled children.
Oh, wow.
Sex trafficking causes the permanent lifetime disability.
Okay.
That's why she's involved.
Yes.
Tiffany Haddish was a foster kid. She, more than anyone, understands that 98% of all girls that are trafficked are foster kids or children living out of home care. So when we pick these people because they happen to be on the stage of the world, but they happen to be on the stage of the world because they have something to say.
Exactly.
And when you pick people for their name value only, you're not doing yourself justice or the cause. Akon, for instance, Akon's my partner. Akon's entire life is dedicated to uplifting the lives of girls and women. You know, he's dedicated himself. He's building Akon City with the whole point of view of uplifting women. You know, here is a man who's so global, and his first reaction is, how do we build more respect for women?
That's amazing. You know, it's funny. I interviewed Akon and we talked about his childhood and how he was born here, but he was raised in Senegal.
Right.
And he does talk about the troubles that he also experienced. So I think he's a good fit in terms of what he brings in terms of childhood experience, the contrast of cultures and so many things. So you are right on the money. I mean, I had no doubt that I know they're celebrities, but what were they bringing? And now you've brought it out. So what is the event going to look like? What can someone that's participating or watching, what can they learn? What is it going to give us?
Well, okay, that's a very good question too. The event is designed from a very specific lens, and it's a lens to the world. It's going to be live streamed all over the world. And the reason for that is we're going to have the setup of the main event like the UN. Each country will have the first lady with the name of the country and the name of the first lady. Each first lady is going to make a public declaration, a global public declaration as to what her country is going to do to eradicate sex trafficking.
Okay.
And that's going to go all over the world. And what we are hoping for is those first ladies that haven't joined yet are going to join, and we will make a very specific focus for the entire action plan, not talk plan, not just legislation, but action plan. And that's what I want to see. Now, for instance, just the beginning of this has already caused the president of Singapore, who is a woman, to say that she's interested in joining. The prime minister of New Zealand has already said that. And you know, the whole world respects her now. So what we have here, it's not name people. It's people who can pull the weight down and say, this is unacceptable. Now, this whole thing started really with a man. He was the former prime minister of Italy. He was before that the mayor of Florence. With the Robert Kennedy Foundation and Kathleen Kennedy, at the time she was Townsend, but she's divorced now, so she's Kennedy. And she helped me with that. And that mayor was so receptive to figuring out how to stop sex trafficking in Florence, because Florence was a stopover to Dubai for many of the girls that were trafficked. And he put out a law that any man sleeping with a juvenile, no court case, nothing, 1 year in jail immediately. And you know what? It stopped it dead.
Of course.
So it's laughable.
I love that. We need that. We need that. You know, I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking about a few years ago when I did an interview with Fatima Bio, Mada Bio from Sierra Leone. And she has this initiative of, you know, Hands of Our Girls.
Yeah.
And she said, and she was trying to invoke, she was like, she needs Hollywood, she needs all the women all over the world to join her, because violence against women is not just sex trafficking, you know, sometimes in the culture.
Absolutely.
The child bride, that is also a violation of women. Is this part of the discussion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is Fatima going to be there?
It's interesting that oh my God, I completely forgot about it. You're getting me excited. So I had this huge meeting at my house, and it was a meeting about educating girls and women, predominantly women, what to do about feeling violated. So how do you break your silence? And amongst these women were very well-known women. And one of them, who is married to a billionaire, told us her story, which was about economic abuse. And what she's told is she's not allowed to spend any money because he's so afraid that if she has money, she's going to leave him. So she has to find a few dollars here, a few dollars there, and hide it behind picture frames in order to have some cash to go out to lunch with a girlfriend. Now, so it's not only sexual, it's slavery.
Yeah.
Violence against women is slavery. Yes. It's modern day slavery against the largest population.
Absolutely. And not to mention the teachers, the people that have power over their employees and all whatnot. And even I don't know the different components of the initiative, but I'm sure we'll talk some other time. But I'm thinking about FGM, female genital mutilation. It's still,
that's a big one.
Is that going to be part of the agenda?
Yeah, because actually I can't name her name.
Okay.
But she was telling me the story, and she's a big model. And she doesn't want people to know, so she hasn't come public. And we wanted to interview her, but she really was reluctant. But she told me the story and why it's such a big shame for her. She grew up with a mother and a father and a grandmother in a village in Africa. And when she was a certain age, I think she said she was 10, all of a sudden she and her sister had to get mutilated. And there was like a big celebration the day before and a big dinner. And she didn't know what it was all about. And she went into this room, and then she heard her sister scream. And then she came in there and she went through it. She couldn't believe it, the pain alone. But even to today, having sex is a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's something that it's built such a shame because she can't have a normal relationship.
Yeah, and you know what is sad about that is that the women are the ones that actually do that procedure, and they're doing it thinking it's well-meaning. So we have to look into all the components. There's the violence that is sadistic, and then there's violence that the person thinks they're doing you a favor.
Hers was done by a man. There was a man who was doing it for evil. Girls, but it doesn't matter. It's still, it's an ignorance. And, it was interesting because she explained to me the cultural point of view. And I understand it, the whole society, the way marriages are, families and everything, men are basically fearful. That's why they have to exert so much suppression. And, and men originally in the villages were afraid because the way a village was conquered, the way a girl was conquered, is when men from another village would come in and claim the girls. And then the village would lose their girls, which meant that they couldn't procreate.
Yeah. This is just the beginning, I'm sure. This because you're launching this initiative. So it's going to be going a year on a consistent basis. Let me ask you, however.
The plan is this. We're starting in Africa, and then in the summer, all the first ladies are gonna come to Washington. We're gonna do it in the Congressional Auditorium, and the next event will be in Dubai. Okay. And they're willing to spend no matter how much money on behalf of all the women, and they're willing to actually go global with it to such an extent and demand cooperation from the rest of the countries.
Yeah. Leadership is key, and you are just the amazing leader for this with these women. So I am so proud and so honored because I love this. I live for stuff like this, empowering our community, empowering our women. How can women in the diaspora and our men, our sons, our husbands, our friends, our boyfriends, how can everybody in the diaspora be a part of this, even though they may not all be in Africa, because I just might be there, who knows, I would love to come.
No,
but how can everybody be a part of
You're
it?
invited, and we will make sure you get there, and we will give you the tickets, and we want you to cover it. It's very important. So
Yeah.
the first event is all for press and VIPs and people that are influencers, because we need to get the word out globally. So it's very important that you're there.
Yeah.
But what can everybody do? After the launch, we are going to also launch a social media impact, and we're going to launch TV impact. And what we want is for everybody to sign on and to commit within their own family and their own community to educate. We want to create Zoom calls where we can educate people so that they understand how to educate others. That is, we want a pyramid of knowledge. That's what we're calling it, because justice for women has to be about a pyramid of knowledge. And I believe every man that I've met, that I talk to about this, all of a sudden wakes up. Absolutely. And remembers in his own past times where he manipulated a woman into sex, where he actually put himself upon a woman. No one's innocent.
Yeah.
So we all have to start here.
Yes.
And we as women, Pamela, we as women, we have to start to claim our own strength. Enough already. Enough. We have been willing to take a totally different position in humanity. And we can't allow that, because we were created so that we bring peace, so that we bring growth. We are mothers. This is why our DNA is inclined to teach. So we have an obligation to start teaching ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely, Daphna. Listen, tell our audience how they can, when this happens, how they can access, should go to the website. I know there's going to be a lot of marketing and pushing.
There's a website, Justice for Women, and people can go on and they can donate, because, you know, we have to somehow. Oh, and let me tell you what's the most important thing here. The first cooperative is going to be in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We're going to that place where 98% of the girls actually are prostituting. We're going to take girls off the street so they can bring their families with them. We are going to build a cooperative. The president is willing to give us the land so they can grow agriculture, and they can grow it, they can have a chicken coop, and they can have a dairy farm, and everybody has to work. And so the cooperative makes the money, and the surplus is sold to the marketplace. So they are self-sufficient.
Okay.
Then they can actually protect their own family and themselves.
Okay.
Once the first cooperative is successful, then from Dubai, they've agreed, the royal bank and the royal families there have agreed to do a second and third and fourth. And we're going to build a new Africa of villages and cooperatives that will allow growth and self-sustaining reality, instead of everybody coming to Africa, taking all the resources, giving nothing back, and abusing the population.
Okay, that's wonderful. So all of this information is probably on the website, justiceforwomen.org.
It's Justice for Women International.
Oh, Justice for Women International, my bad. Thank you so much, Daphna. Any last words before we go to the audience?
I want to talk to every girl that is watching, every woman. We are the nucleus. We have a responsibility. From us, everybody else comes. So we need to start respecting ourselves and not allowing ourselves to be demeaned, violated, or sacrifice the core of our self-respect and self-dignity. Please start with that.
Absolutely. And you know what? we are the ones we've been waiting for to make a difference.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wish you all
I
the
love
best.
you so much. I can't tell you, from the minute I met you, I was like, you've been in my being.
I love
Thank
you more.
for doing what you're doing.
I love you more, Daphna. So let's get this out there and let everybody watch this and join in. And this is just the beginning of a movement. This is a movement that's going to last forever, from generation to generation. So looking forward to seeing you shortly. Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks, Daphna.
We've come to the end of our show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if so, please share your opinions with me in the comment section or send me an email at publisher@immigrantmagazine.com. I hope that you subscribe and invite others to subscribe to this new and revolutionary channel, Team TV, Voice of Immigrants in America. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Pam Anchang, and like us on Facebook, The Immigrant Magazine. See you next time on Immigrant Magazine Weekly.